Hey everyone! In today's video, I'll be sharing with you how to make a content planner on Notion. This tutorial is for those who are content creators looking to stay organized through their content creation workflow. In today's video, I'm going to be covering how to set up a content planner covering content calendars, to-do lists, video planning templates, and other useful items. Let's get started. First, we'll make a new blank page by clicking the plus button in the left sidebar. Then we'll name this page Content Hub. Next, let's click the three dots on the top right to bring up the page settings. You can choose a font that you like and turn on small text and full width to give the page more space. Then let's hover over the top and click the add icon to upload a page icon. And we can also add a cover image for our page as well. Once we've uploaded the image, we can also reposition it to where it looks good. So things inside of Notion pages are made up of blocks, and we can get the blocks menu by typing /. In this menu, we can see all the different elements we can add to the page. I'll add a nice quote to set the scene for our content hub with a callout block. With the callout block, we can change the icon and background of the callout box like this. You can also highlight your text to bring up the toolbar to customize your text. To begin, let's separate the page into two columns using the column block. Then, in the first column, let's type in the heading for our quick links section. We can also bold, italicize, and change the background color to make the heading stand out more. Here we can also hover over the column handle and drag it to change the column width. This step is optional. We'll be using icons for our social media platforms later, so we're going to go look for some cute icons on Pinterest. Back in Notion, we're going to add a new callout box and click the icon to change it to a social media platform icon. Then type in the name of the platform we want to hyperlink, then highlight the text and choose the hyperlink option to enter their website. Then click the 6 dots next to the callout box and click duplicate. I'm going to choose a different icon this time. And also update the hyperlink as well. Skipping ahead, I've added a few more, but you can use this method to add as many quick links as you like. Next, let's duplicate the quick links header and drag it to the column on the right. And we'll name this section Content Calendar. Let's bring up the blocks menu again, and this time we'll be adding a database. Here, there's a lot of different database views to choose from. For this section, we'll use the calendar view. So click on calendar view and then add new calendar. Then let's give our database a title, and we can also hide the database title here for a cleaner look. Technically, we can already start using this calendar by clicking the plus button to plan content for a particular day. But today I'll show you how to further customize this for content planning. So we're going to be creating templates. If we click back to the calendar and click the little blue drop down arrow next to new, then click plus new template and expand the page. Like before, let's go into the page settings to turn on small text and full width to give the page more space. You can also hide the comments bar by turning off the top level page comments like this. This first template is going to be for planning YouTube videos, so I'm going to name it New YouTube Template, and let's give the template a custom icon too. Let's first do a quick example of how a template works. So let's say I wanted to include some sort of content in this template. Now if we go back to our calendar and add a new entry, we now see an option here to create a new entry from our template. So if we select the template option, then the new page will be already populated with the contents we have in the template. So now let's go back and finish making our video planner template. Let's go back to the blue drop down arrow, click the three dots next to the template, and then go edit. So let's set up some useful properties for this content planner template. Let's rename the date property to release date for the date we plan to publish our video, and then delete this tags property. Then let's add another date property called filming date. We can also add multi-select properties that are like tags. So for example, we can have one called content pillar. And then we can add multi-select options for our different content pillars. We can also change the color of the tags like this. So now we have options to choose from when we click open the property. Next, let's add another multi-select property for the video format. And then also a multi-select property called platform. Then we'll put in options as our different platforms. And since videos from this template will be for planning YouTube videos, we can pre-select the platform as YouTube. And finally, let's add a status property to show the progress of our video. You can change the color of the statuses like this. And you can also add your own statuses like this. Once we're done with the statuses, let's build the actual video planner template. So let's delete this dummy sentence first and then type / and add a 2 columns block. In the first column, let's add a callout block and give it a nice icon. This first section will be a space for us to summarize our video concept. We can press Shift Enter a few times to make the box bigger and drag the column handle to adjust the column width. Next, let's add another callout box in the first column called checklist. Here we'll make a checklist for our content workflow. Let's bring up the blocks menu again, and this time we'll add the to-do list block. So if the block is added outside of the callout box, we can just quickly drag it in manually. Then let's right click or press Ctrl D to duplicate more checkboxes. And finally, we can outline all the steps in our content creation workflow. And I'm just adding some finishing touches to the first column by changing the callout box color to make it stand out more. Then in the second column, let's add some sections for detailed planning separated by divider blocks. I'm going to use toggles for my sections. Toggles are nice here because you can easily open and collapse them when you need. The first section is going to be for research. This is where we can put down any notes, links for inspo, etc. I'm also going to have a different background color for each section. The second toggle will be for any sponsor details. The third toggle will be for drafting the title of the video. The fourth toggle will be for drafting the video description. The next toggle will be for planning sections of the video. And we're going to expand this toggle and put in some numbered blocks as placeholders. For example, number 1 can be for planning the intro and number 7 can be for planning the outro. The next section I'll have for noting down keywords and hashtags. Then the next section is for links to my thumbnails, or I can also use this section to put any thumbnail inspo images. That's all my sections done, but you can obviously put in as many sections as you find useful. The template will autosave, so let's go back to our content calendar. So now if we click the plus button in the calendar to add a new entry, now if we click new YouTube template here, we can see that the new entry is created from our video planning template. You can also add multiple templates with different planner structures. So let's add another template as an example. For a shortcut, instead of making a new template from scratch, I'm duplicating and editing my YouTube video template that I made before. I'm making this template into a TikTok planning template, so I'll first edit the template name and then choose TikTok as the platform. The checklist steps will be mostly the same. I'm just going to edit it slightly to get rid of the thumbnail step. And last but not least, let's change the template page icon from YouTube to TikTok. Now if we go back to our content calendar and press the plus button to add a record, there will be 2 templates to choose from. As an example, if I want to plan for a YouTube video, I can then just click open page from the calendar, put in a title, fill in the relevant information and start planning. Next, we're going back to the calendar to make it show some more useful information. So on the top right of the calendar, click the 3 dots to open up the options and then open up the property setting. Here we can click the little eye icon to show and hide the different properties in the cards. And finally, we can rename this calendar view to monthly to show that it's a monthly calendar. We can also create different views for our content calendar. I also wanted to have a weekly view, so I'll just duplicate my monthly view and first rename the duplicated view to weekly. Then let's go into the layout settings and choose to show calendar as week. Before we make the next view, I'm just going to add a few more cards as examples. I'll add a card where the release date is in the week after like this. And another card where we have the status as scheduled like this. Next, let's make a Kanban board. So let's click this plus button here to make a new view and then choose the board option. Then we'll name this new view by status and hide the database title for a neater look. And to make each column stand out more, we can also toggle on color columns. If we go back to the main view options and go into properties, we can show more properties in the board. So now we have a board that organizes our content by its progress status, and we can move our cards easily between the columns. Next, we're going to make one more archive view. So again, we're going to click the plus button to make a new view, and this view is going to have all our videos with no release dates. Let's go into the layout setting to choose the view that we like. So I'm using a list view and hiding the database title. Then I'm going into the property settings to show some more properties in the view. So now if we click filter, click release date, click the drop down on the right and then select is empty. And now for example, if we go to a video in this content calendar and remove the release date, then it'll show up in our no release date tab. Next, we're going to set up a to-do list section. So first, I'm just making the section title look the same as the other ones. Then I'm just going to drag an empty block into the right column under my title. Then if we type in /list, we can choose the first option in the menu and add a list view. Then click on add new list, name my new database tasks and hide the database title. I'm going to first select all these default items and delete them. And here we can already start putting tasks in to make a basic list. So for example, I'm going to put a task in for responding to a collab email, and I can just click open the task to put in more details. We don't really need this tags property, so we'll just delete it. And if we go to the page settings on the top right, we can also click on customize page to turn off the comments. Next, let's add a new date property called due date. So now we can put in due dates for our tasks. Next, we can also add in a new status property to track the progress of our tasks. And here you can also edit the progress tags. This is purely for aesthetics, but we can also add a little icon for our task. Next, I want to show more information on this view. By clicking the three dots in the corner of the view, we can go into the property settings and unhide the properties we made. I'm just going to add in one more example before we go to our next view. In this task, I'm going to give it a due date and set the status to in progress. Then I'm going to rename this first view to do. Then click on this little filter setting, click on status, and check all the statuses except for done. This way only incomplete tasks will show up in this view. Next, click the to do tab and click duplicate. And let's rename the second view done. This time we're going to make the status filter only show completed tasks. I also like to use Kanban boards to track my tasks, so let's make one. So let's add a new view and select the board view this time and hide the database title to make it more clean. If we go into the layout settings, we can also color the columns to make them stand out more. And finally, we can go into the property settings and unhide the properties that we made. And now we have a board view to track the progress of our tasks. So this section would be useful for content creators who have things like weekly recurring tasks that they need to check off. So let's start off with making a section title called Weekly Tasks. And this time we're going to add a gallery view database. So I'm going to hit plus new gallery, give this database a name and hide the database title. Then we're going to delete 2 of these dummy default pages and click open page 1. We're going to first delete this created property because we don't really need it. And again, we can go to the 3 dots on the top right, click customize page and turn off the top level comments for a neater look. We can delete all these dummy content and also delete this tags property. And actually we can also delete this page 1 as well, just so we can start with a clean database. Next, we're going to click this little blue drop down and add a new template. We're going to call it Weekly Tasks and add a new date property called Due Date. Next, we're going to add a status property. And then we're going to add some checkbox properties. For each checkbox, we're going to have a weekly task. So for example, the first weekly task could be plan for the next 2 videos. The next weekly task could be something like review analytics. We could have something like review comments. And maybe something like weekly research. Next, we're going to make a progress bar for our weekly tasks. First, we're going to add a new formula property. And I'm going to name it progress. Next, I'm going to edit the formula. I'm going to try my best to break this process down, so I hope it makes sense. So first, I'm going to use the toNumber function by clicking toNumber and then clicking the plan next video checkbox property. Then we're going to click done to save. Now as we can see, if we tick the plan next video task, the progress is going to update to 1. Now let's untick it and go back to editing our formula. So essentially we're going to add all the checkboxes together to show how many tasks we've checked. Let's click done to test it out. Here we can see that the progress number corresponds to how many tasks we've ticked. Let's open the formula to edit it once again. We're going to put a set of brackets around this whole thing to keep it together. And we're going to divide by how many checkboxes we have in total, which is 4 in this case. Then we're going to click and edit the progress property. Click number format and click % to show our progress as a percentage. We can also have a progress bar and change the color. Another option is the progress wheel. Before we save this template, we need to make sure all these checkboxes are unticked. And now we can click back and the template will save automatically. Now if we click new, we can choose our weekly task template. Now let's go into the view settings for the last few steps. First, let's go into the layout settings and change the card preview to none. Then let's go back and go into the property settings. Let's unhide all the task checkboxes so they show up in the card. In fact, I'm just going to unhide all these properties because they're all useful. We can also drag to rearrange these properties in the order that we want them to appear. And finally, let's give our weekly tasks a due date. You can pick any day of the week you want, but usually it's easy to have the due date as when your weekly task cycle refreshes. I actually think I like the progress bar better than the ring, so I'm just going to go back to the settings for the progress property and change it back to a progress bar. And as a finishing touch, I'm just going to open the view settings, go into the property settings, and click to drag the properties to show in the order that I think looks nice. To make it even nicer, we can add an icon. Let's go back to the templates list and click the 3 dots to edit our weekly tasks template. Click add icon here in the top and choose a nice icon. Click back to save the template, and now when we make a new card with the weekly tasks template, it'll come with the icon that we chose. Because this should be a weekly recurring task, we can also take it a step further to automate it. If we again go into the template options here, there's a repeat functionality. Here we can choose to have it repeat weekly. So in this example, it'll make a new weekly task checklist every Saturday at 12 AM. For this second set of weekly tasks, I'm going to set a due date for a different week as an example for the next step. And I'll also change the due date for the first set of weekly tasks to be a week that's already passed. The week I'm recording this is the week of 1st of June, so I only want to see the tasks for this week. In other words, I want this view to show only the card for my current week. To do that, we can go into the filter settings on the top right. Click on due date and set the start date to be is relative to today. And make sure that the range is set to this week. So now it's only showing us the weekly tasks for the current week, which is what we want to see. And finally, I'm just going to move this section to the left column for a nicer page layout. Now this should be all set up so that our weekly tasks are refreshed every week. Finally, let's set up something that I also find really useful, which is a simple ideas tracker. So like before, let's start with making a section title. Let's keep the formatting and the background color the same as the other sections. Next, type / to bring up the blocks menu and then type list to get the list view. Then select list view and click new list. Then name this database ideas and hide the database title for a neater look. Let's click open this default page 1, and we can delete this default property called created as we don't really need it. If we click these 3 dots on the top right and go into customize page, we can turn off the top level page discussions for a neater look. Next, let's edit this tags property already here and rename it to platform. And in the options section, we can add all our content platforms as options. As an example, I've added TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Each of the pages could be an idea, so I'm renaming page 1 to YouTube idea as an example. I'm tagging this idea to YouTube in the platform property, and I can also give this idea page a light bulb icon. Next, we can add a URL property for links. So this could be for if you want to link another video that's inspired your idea. So in this database, you can store as many ideas as you like, as well as organizing them with different tags. There is an example for this collab idea. I can make a new tag called collab. And I'll quickly just add an icon before we go to the next step. We can also make some different views here. I want this first view to contain all my ideas, so let's rename it to full list. Then we can duplicate the first view and rename it to YouTube. So in this view, I only want to see my YouTube ideas. I'll click the little filter button, click platform, and only take YouTube. So now this list should only show ideas that have a YouTube tag. Let's do another one for only Instagram ideas. And we're done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more.